This video is a demo of an animated map that covers the Confederate retreat from Gettysburg. The map covers the period from the beginning of the retreat on the morning of July 4 and ending when the Confederates crossed the Potomac back into Virginia on July 14. The map you see here is adapted from a map that was printed by the War Department in the 1890s as part of the Atlas to accompany the official records. Gettysburg is at the top center, and the Potomac River is the loop in the lower left. General Robert E. Lee wants to get the Army of Northern Virginia back across the Potomac into Virginia. He needs to get across South Mountain here to the fords at Williamsport and the bridge at Falling Waters. There are also 2 wagon trains carrying his army's wounded and the army's supplies. And those convoys need to be protected, and this will get complicated. The pontoon bridge was destroyed by Union cavalry on July 3, and then it started raining. The river rose, and pretty soon the fords at Williamsport were too deep to use. Lee's exit will be blocked. Major General George Meade, commanding the Army of the Potomac, is tasked with protecting Baltimore and Washington, D.C., and also with defeating Lee's army. Those priorities are in conflict. This is an animated map, and when you watch the animation, maybe you can feel General Meade struggling to do 2 jobs at once. Defeat Lee's army, but also protect D.C. and Baltimore. This map is posted on the web and available for you to use. First, I'll give you a short demonstration, and then at the end, I'll show you how to find the map if you want to use it yourself. The animation starts in the early morning of July 4. See the 2 armies facing each other. This is the day after the Battle of Gettysburg. The 7 blue squares are the Union Infantry Corps. The 9 gray squares are Confederate infantry divisions. The gray diagonal to the northeast is the Confederate Cavalry Corps. 2 Union cavalry divisions are to the southeast at Westminster. And Bowdoin's and Harmon's wagon trains are the 2 icons to the northwest of the battlefield. General Lee wants to get his army back south across the Potomac down here. Lee also wants to protect the wagon trains and make sure that his wounded and all the booty the army collected in Pennsylvania makes it safely back to Virginia. The wagon trains will follow 2 separate paths, a longer, safer path to the north and a shorter, riskier, more direct path to the south. Lee will give the wagon trains a head start, and then, on the evening of the 4th, his infantry will follow. I'll start the animation now. When the first wagon train leaves early in the morning on the 4th, they're spotted by Union Signal Corps lookouts. Wagon trains are a juicy target. Plans are hatched, and the cavalry is sent to run them down. Buford's division is sent southwest to cut them off. Kilpatrick's division is sent northwest. On the evening of the 4th, see Lee's army start to move toward Fairfield as Stuart passes around behind the army and then south to Emmitsburg. Apparently Stuart's job is to act as a screen on Lee's right flank. At the same time, it's a stormy, rainy night, and Kilpatrick's division pushes up into Monterey Pass and takes a big bite out of Harmon's convoy. Meade doesn't know what Lee is up to. He sends 2 corps east to guard his supply line, another corps south to Marsh Creek to guard his left flank, and pushed his 6th Corps forward to try to find out what Lee was doing. Is Lee heading for Virginia, or is he retreating back into the mountains? Kilpatrick stops at Smithsburg to rest, just as Stuart comes out of the mountains behind him, heading west. And they fight a battle at Smithsburg, and Kilpatrick retreats south to Boonesboro, where Buford's division joins him. The Union 6th Corps pushed across the old battlefield and caught up with the rear guard of Ewell's Confederate Corps at Fairfield. And according to Eric Wittenberg in his book, One Continuous Fight, Lee hoped the Federal Army would attack, and quotes a witness that Lee halted our corps and told General Ewell to try to induce the enemy to fight. If those people will only come out of their entrenchments and give us an open field fight, we will smash them. I never saw General Lee so anxious for a fight." Unquote. And see that by the afternoon of the 5th, the front end of both wagon trains had reached Williamsport on the Potomac, but they couldn't cross. As I said, the fords were flooded and the bridge was destroyed. I don't know where the back ends of the wagon trains were. The convoys were miles long. Wagons kept pouring in and piled up along the riverbank, creating a juicy target for Union cavalry. Buford joins Kilpatrick at Boonesboro. A series of cavalry battles around Williamsport and Hagerstown follow. Kilpatrick and Buford are trying to reach the wagons parked at Williamsport. And again, of course, the Confederates would like to cross the river, but they can't. The fords are flooded and the bridge is destroyed. Stuart holds the Union cavalry off, and then the rest of the Confederate army arrives. Buford and Kilpatrick retreat to Boonesboro on July 7, as the rest of the Union Army starts to move south toward Turner's Gap. Also on July 7, Lee's engineers began work on a new bridge at Falling Waters to replace the one destroyed by Union cavalry. On July 8, Lee's staff starts scouting to find a defensible line between Hagerstown and Williamsport. They're stuck there, up against the river, and will have to dig in. On the 9th, with a line identified and marked out, they start digging fortifications. On the 10th, the Union infantry moved into positions southeast of Hagerstown, and that evening, Lee's infantry moved into their fortifications. Historians write that July 10 was a critical day. Lee kept his army concentrated just long enough around Hagerstown to lure Meade to concentrate there rather than driving straight forward to the river. And as I said, that evening Lee's army moved into their fortifications, and a standoff followed. Should Meade attack Lee's line? On July 11, Pickett's infantry division, escorting the Union prisoners, crossed the Potomac using the ferry at Williamsport. Meade held a council of war on July 12. Meade favored an attack, but the council deadlocked. Meade postponed the attack, but ordered a reconnaissance in force for 7 a.m. on the 14th. That evening, around 11 p.m. on the 12th, the pontoon bridge at Falling Waters was reconnected. Not quite ready for use, but it's close. But they needed the fords to be open too. Kent Masterson Brown, in his book Retreat from Gettysburg, summarized it this way. The bridge at Falling Waters was ready, but given the size of the trains still in and along the river bottom land at Williamsport, the entire army could not cross it in time to avoid being attacked. Lee still needed the river to fall so that some of his troops could ford it at Williamsport. Unquote. Well, why? President Lincoln explained it pretty well when during the previous winter he wrote General Hooker that if he attacked across the Rappahannock, he risked being entangled upon the river like an ox jumped half over a fence and liable to be torn by dogs front and rear, without a fair chance to gore one way or kick the other. Unquote. So they needed to be quick about it. They needed the bridge and the fords to make a successful escape. Early in the morning on the 13th, the bridge at Falling Waters was reported as ready to use. The water level in the river was falling, and the fords were now usable. The wagon trains crossed immediately, and the infantry started to get ready to cross behind them. Early in the morning on the 14th, in the dark, Lee's infantry began leaving their trenches and marching to the river crossings, either the fords at Williamsport or the bridge at Falling Waters. General Meade's recon in force started on time at 7 a.m. on the morning of the 14th. Buford and Kilpatrick's divisions both began moving at 7 a.m., and both found the positions in front of them were empty. Buford continued toward Falling Waters, Kilpatrick toward Williamsport. Kilpatrick found Williamsport empty. Buford began to attack the bridgehead at Falling Waters. Too late. By noon, on July 14, the entire rear guard of Lee's army was across the bridge and on the south side of the river. The pontoon bridge was cut loose to prevent Union troops from following. How was it that Lee and the Army of Northern Virginia escaped? General James Wadsworth, a division commander in the First Corps, was quoted saying it was because nobody stopped him, unquote. Maybe you noticed this map is used in 2 YouTube videos about the retreat. To find these 2 videos on YouTube, you can search for the title, Retreat from Gettysburg, or you can search for Lee's Retreat. And this map is available on the web, free for you to use. To find it, go to my website at this address and see the link, The Retreat from Gettysburg. Click the link, and the map will download. It may take 30 seconds or so. It's a big map. To start the animation, click the Start button, and the clock will start at midnight of July 3 and 4. If you want to start at July 9 instead, refresh the browser, click View, and click July 9, and then Start. If you want to find where rivers, crossings, and mountain gaps are located, refresh the browser, click View, click on the item you're looking for, and then click Start. To demonstrate, I'll click July 9 and Beaver Creek. If you want to see where a specific unit is on the map, you can highlight it. For example, I'll click Pickett's Division and then click Start. And mouse over works, which will help you identify icons on the map. I'll click Start and then Pause and mouse over the 3 cavalry divisions. That's it. Thanks for watching, and let me know if you have suggestions on how to make these maps more useful.